Welcome to MLS Round-Up from We Are Soccer. I'm Craig Hearn, and I'm joined by Brooks Laimbeer, our MLS expert. Today we're going to talk about the results over the past couple of days to a week for all MLS teams, and then we'll look at the standings. All right, Brooks, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you, Craig?
Doing all right. Some results we should chat about here. That's some kind of interesting results. That Austin FC result for one, and then we'll talk about the standings and where these teams are and who's going to make the playoffs and who's not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the Austin. So just to start for for your first point is Austin FC playing LAFC at home, and that's Gareth Bale's first start for LAFC ever. In an LAFC team that a lot of people have talked about that they could possibly beat the Revs point total last year for Supporters Shield, and that was the new record last year, and then possibly getting the new record this year is crazy. But they dropped a match last week at San Jose, and LAFC dropped another one. But kudos to Austin FC, and
big win.
Talked about.
Big win, 4-1. I mean, that is a huge win over a really good LAFC team, just like you said.
It's huge, and this Austin FC team was, obviously an expansion team last year, and they had their struggles, but they were in the bottom, really bottom end of the Western Conference table last year, and but what a great start, what a great performance, and Josh Wolf has done a great job in his second year as a head coach at Austin FC, and if no one's seen it, what a great free kick goal to start off the match with Diego Fagundez, who's really just kind of revitalized his career after kind of having a good start as a Revs youth player and coming up into the first team and kind of dropping off his last years with the Revs, and then he's just really kind of found his way in Austin again.
That free kick was something else, up and over the wall and into that top corner. What an absolute darling of a free kick that was, man.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and they actually did a very good job neutralizing Gareth Bale. He didn't have many touches, many chances. I mean, he had one solid chance at the end of the first half where it came off a poor clearance from Cascante, the center back, and no one went to go mark Bale as he ran to get the second ball, and he pops it over the goal. I thought he was actually going to score that because usually Gareth Bale, as we know, doesn't miss a whole lot of
He puts
chances
like that away, but lucky for Austin FC, who you said second year in the league here, doing really, really well.
Yes.
All right, what other? We've got Portland Timbers beat the Seattle Sounders 2-1. What's that? The Arcadia? Is that what's called?
Cascadia
Rivalry.
And they won the Cascadia Cup, by the way. So Portland had to draw or win against Seattle. So congrats to the Timbers for winning the Cascadia Cup.
Very nice.
Always a chippy match. What's interesting is Portland matched Seattle's formation, so in a 3-5-2, which Portland's done well. Both of these teams right now, after the results from this week, are Portland's in 8th, Seattle at 10. And an interesting fact is I believe Seattle hasn't missed the playoffs since they've come into the league. Or it's been about 12 to 13 years at least, I believe they were saying on TV statistically for the amount of years in a row that Seattle's made the playoffs. And in Portland, it's been about 5 or 6 years they haven't missed the playoffs.
They got some work to do to get in the playoffs. They're out of the playoff spot right now, but Seattle's got some work to do they not?
They do, yeah. I mean, Seattle's sitting at 10th with 33 points and Portland at 8th spot with 36. I mean, it's very close. You look at, Portland gets a few wins here. They get 2 wins in a row. I mean, that puts them up to 42. And depending on the teams in front of them they only have LA at 7 with 37 points right now. Real Salt Lake at 6 with 39, and then Nashville at 5th at 39 points. So, and if you really look at the last, since 2015, when Portland won their first MLS Cup, it's 2015 and 2021, it's been Seattle or Portland coming out of the Western Conference to play in the MLS Cup final. So it's really been, both the Cascadia teams, those two for the Western Conference, to advance to MLS Cup. So, both teams have some work to do. They need to get the results. They need to beat the teams below them. But it was, as always, it's always a great match with Portland, Seattle.
And then Minnesota United FC 2-1 over Houston Dynamo.
Yes.
Some good games. There wasn't many ties this match day. Then we had New York Red Bulls 3, Inter Miami 1. Yes. And Inter Miami have actually been doing really well lately, but they get tripped up by New York Red Bulls here. FC Cincinnati 2, Columbus Crew 2, and then a big score. Philadelphia Union 6, Colorado Rapids
Yes.
Ooh, man. And Philadelphia won a couple of games 6 and 7-0 this year.
Yeah. Talk about a team that wasn't really, great at scoring a whole lot of goals the past couple seasons, but they've really just kind of come on this year and scored a ton of goals as of late. So
yeah. Chicago Fire get downed 2-0 by the Montreal Impact. Chicago Fire having a very disappointing season, especially after some of the signings they've made and the changes they've made to the front office. So it's disappointing for them.
Good win for Montreal, though. The team they need to beat. Montreal, formerly Montreal Impact. I made that error last week. So CF Montreal or I call them CF Snowflake because their press looks like a snowflake. So
it does.
But no, Montreal. I mean, a key win that helps keep them, in the top three. They keep pulling away from New York City FC, who lost tonight and against Orlando City. So, kudos to Montreal, and they're doing well.
Absolutely. Toronto get a win. They haven't done very well this year. They get a big win over Charlotte FC, 2-0. Toronto, Bob Bradley, who's taken over the team as GM and head coach, and it's been a real shit year, actually, if we're talking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just been a bad year for them. Charlotte's done okay as an expansion year, their first year, but yeah, they get down 2-0 by Toronto here.
You're seeing Toronto. I mean, let's quickly the Eastern Conference at the 8, 9, 10 spot. I mean, Toronto's at the 10 spot, tied with Atlanta, who's both 33 points. You look at 9th. New England with 34, FC Cincy with 35, and then if you go into the 6th and 7th positions, I mean, Miami at 6, Columbus at 7, only 36 points. So if Toronto go on a run, especially with Insigne and a lot of the other foreign players they brought in, it can be very interesting. I mean, they could sneak into the playoffs, TFC, and then it's kind of scary if they sneak into the playoffs what they can reload with next year.
Yeah, that's true.
In Toronto with how Bob recruits players and the money that TFC has to spend, plus their real good academy system they have.
If you look at the Eastern Conference standings, anybody from 5th to 13th.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
close.
Eight teams are all within 6 points of each other.
Yeah.
It's nutty. 8 teams within 6 points of each other, and playoffs are right in the middle there. So it's going to be interesting to see who finally gets in there when it shuts down and the end of the regular season is done. All right, let's go on to some more scores here. We had Sporting Kansas City 1-0 over San Jose Earthquakes.
Yep. SKC making a run. So, I mean, the last couple matches they won. They beat Portland. I just don't think it's enough for them to make the playoffs. But kudos if Kansas City can make a run here.
They haven't had quite the year they had last year, have they? FC Dallas 1, Real Salt Lake 1. Vancouver Whitecaps 0, Nashville 3. Nashville finally putting it together there a little bit.
Yes.
They need to go on a little bit of a run. I want to see them solidify a playoff spot, as we talked about last week.
Yes.
That brand new stadium. They get a lot of people in that brand new stadium.
They do.
It would be nice to see them get into the playoffs and get rocking in that stadium.
Yeah. We'll talk about a city like Nashville where no one thought soccer would work, but they love their sports. I mean, they go out to the Predators game. They support the Titans. I mean, it was great for MLS to put a team in Nashville. And I'm proud to say that I see all the people in and around Nashville go out and support their MLS team, and that's huge.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. That's on my list. I want to get down and look at that stadium and watch that team. I enjoy them. I'm a huge Walker Zimmerman fan as well.
Yes.
So, U.S. men's national team captain. It'd be good to get down there and see. They're doing very well. Good to see them winning there. Atlanta United FC 3 over Wayne Rooney and his DC United 2. Wayne Rooney came in, had a good win, and now they've been on a little bit of a decline. And that front office is changing their tune a little bit about the team that they had. They said at the beginning of the year they had a really good team, and then they fired the coach and brought in Wayne Rooney, and now they're saying they got to dismantle and rebuild.
Yes.
So,
But big win for Atlanta. I mean, that they were sitting at 30, so then they have 33 points now, and again,
get back into
the
the
Eastern Conference, they're in there. They're in there to compete.
Yeah, and as you see on our list here, we have that game being played Sunday night. It just finished up. Orlando won 2-1, correct? It was in Orlando over New York City. Yes. Big torrential downpour down there, which made for some hazardous play, right, Brooks?
Yeah, that Florida rain, in the rainy season, that's for sure.
Yeah, and then the final game of match day 27 is New England Revolution and the LA Galaxy. Yeah. How did that game end up, or is it still in play?
It's done. So 2-1 LA Galaxy, and what a great through ball that Ricky Puig, the signing, the former FC Barcelona player, that Xavi, there was no room for him to play in Barcelona. What a good pickup by the LA Galaxy, and someone that wanted to come to MLS.
Sure.
And that's nice to know when you have young guys that want to come to MLS.
Absolutely. Definitely nice to see. Yeah, lots of good games this past week for MLS. Lots of movement. And as we said, there's lots of chances for these teams. If someone goes on a run and wins 2-3 games out of the last 8 they got left, they can cement a place in the playoffs, but they got a lot of work to do. Some interesting standings. Thanks. All right, Brooks, before we wrap up this week's edition of MLS Roundup, anything else you got for us?
Just a few games for next week. Ooh. So I have 4 listed off here.
Let's hear them.
That kind of caught my eye. So Montreal versus New York Red Bull. So that's, a top 5 matchup.
Yep.
August 31st, ESPN Plus at 7:30. Montreal at home, they've been very tough, and they've been good on the road. As I said, last week they had a slow start to the season, but they've really done very well after that poor first 4 to 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
TFC versus LA Galaxy. So we have Greg Vanney playing against his old club he coached when he coached at Toronto. So. And then again, you have LA Galaxy kind of sitting there on the line in the Western Conference of being in the playoffs or not, and then. Bob Bradley knows he's got to win games.
Yeah,
so,
he has to win games. I mean, It's not like they're going to sack him at the end of the year, but I think we all expected him to go in there, change it around, get some new tactics, and do what Bob Bradley usually does.
Be a little more competitive.
Be more competitive and take your team to a different level, which I don't think he's done this year. It's been a bit of a down year and a disappointment, if I'm being honest.
Correct, yeah. And then again, that's Wednesday, August 31st, ESPN Plus, 7:30. Third one, New York Red Bull versus Philadelphia Union on Saturday, September 3rd, 7:30 ESPN Plus.
That's actually a really intriguing game of the way the Union have been putting the ball in the back of the net. Yeah. So that could be a good one.
Top 5 teams again, and Red Bull, having a good season this year, playing very well. So that should be a very good matchup. And the last one I have, another TFC matchup. And again, this is a weird week. It's a Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday you may play on this week. TFC versus Montreal. On Sunday, September 4th, ESPN Plus 7:30. So
2 Canadian teams going at it. Is there a name for that rivalry? Or is that
I don't know if there's one. I think the
know.
Canadian teams do play for a trophy, I believe. No, because the Vancouver's in the Cascadia Cup. But it's always a rivalry when you have Toronto, Montreal. Any sport, it doesn't matter. So again, that's an Eastern Conference matchup right there. So you have a highly ranked Montreal team and you have a TFC team fighting for points. So those are 2 tough games. Playing, and they're two at home. Both are at home.
Both at home. Okay.
LA Galaxy and Montreal, but still, it's not a walk in the park.
Right.
By any means.
But if Toronto FC managed to get wins in both of those games, that'll just catapult them up the
I think it gives them momentum.
Absolutely.
You want momentum going
and you wouldn't put
it
past Bob Bradley's teams to do that.
Exactly.
Come into form at the end of the season, get enough points, get into the playoffs, and really, like we said earlier, man, it'd be scary if they got into the playoffs. Who knows what could happen?
Exactly. So, we'll see. And then, so those are the 4 games I have, and then, let's see teams to watch. We'll see what Portland does as they go sit in 8th. Like I said, big win against Seattle. Columbus, they drew 2-2 against FC Cincy. Inter Miami slipped up and stumbled a bit. So that's the question: is can Caleb Porter and Phil Neville keep their teams going so they can stay above that playoff line? So those are 2 teams to watch. Obviously, a big win for Orlando, who sits in 5th at 39 points in the Eastern Conference. Oscar Pereira done a wonderful job in Orlando. Got them into the playoffs last year. Alexander Pato, a lot of other quality players they have, just hasn't quite had the results probably they were expecting this year. But that Orlando team can be very dangerous. So they'll be an interesting one to watch at the end. And then you got New England in 9th with 34 points. That team was so good last year, and they've kind of dismantled that team with Leggett going and selling Busca over to Europe and bringing in guys. And, it's a very interesting team. And I think, the Revs want to get back into the playoffs for their fans. And, Bruce Arena definitely doesn't want to miss the playoffs this year.
Absolutely. All right, Brooks, that's going to do it for MLS Roundup this week. Thanks for all the knowledge. Thanks for everything you bring, and we'll chat to you next week.
Sounds good. Cheers.
Cheers.